A private military company is a private company providing armed combat or security services for financial gain. PMCs refer to their operationally deployed personnel as security contractors or private military contractors. The services and expertise offered by PMCs are typically similar to those of governmental security, military or police forces, most often on a smaller scale. While PMCs often provide services to train or supplement official armed forces in service of governments, they can also be employed by private companies to provide bodyguards for key staff or protection of company premises, especially in hostile territories. However, contractors who use armed force in a war zone can be considered unlawful combatants. In reference to a concept outlined in the Geneva Conventions and explicitly specified by the 2006 American Military Commissions Act, there has been controversy over whether PMCs in active combat zones should be considered mercenaries. The services of private contractors are used around the world. P.W. Singer, author of Corporate Warriors, The Rise of the Privatized Military Industry, says, in geographic terms, it operates in over 50 countries. It's operated in every single continent but Antarctica. Singer states that in the 1990s there used to be 50 military personnel for every one contractor. And now the ratio is 10-1. He also points out that these contractors have a number of duties depending on whom they are hired by. In developing countries that have natural resources, such as oil refineries in Iraq, they are hired to guard the area. They are also hired to guard companies that contract services and reconstruction efforts such as General Electric. Apart from securing companies, they secure officials and government affiliates. Private military companies carry out many missions and jobs. Some examples include close protection for the Afghan President Hamid Karzai and piloting reconnaissance airplanes and helicopters as a part of Plan Colombia. According to a study from 2003, the PMC industry was worth over $100 billion a year at that time. According to a 2008 study by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, private contractors make up 29% of the workforce in the United States intelligence community and cost the equivalent of 49% of their personnel budgets. Modern PMCs trace their origins back to a group of ex-SHASH veterans in 1965 who, under the leadership of the founder of the SHASH, Sir David Sterling and John Woodhouse, founded WatchGuard International as a private company that could be contracted out for security and military purposes. The company's first assignment was to go to Yemen to report on the state of the royalist forces when a ceasefire was declared. At the same time, Sterling was cultivating his contacts in the Iranian government and exploring the chances of obtaining work in Africa. The company eventually operated in Zambia and in Sierra Leone, providing training teams and advising on security matters. Sterling also organized deals to sell weapons and military personnel to other countries for various privatized foreign policy operations. Contracts were mainly with the Gulf states and involved weapons supply and training. The company was also linked with a failed attempt to overthrow Colonel Muammar Gaddafi from power in Libya in 1971. Woodhouse resigned as Director of Operations after a series of disagreements, and Sterling himself ceased to take an active part in 1972. Sterling also founded CAS International and was involved in a collaboration with the Worldwide Fund for Nature to forcibly reduce the illegal poaching and smuggling of elephant tusks in various countries of southern Africa. Other groups formed by ex-SHASH servicemen were established in the 1970s and 80s, including Control Risks Group and Defense Systems, providing military consultation and training. Dramatic growth in the number and size of PMCs occurred at the end of the Cold War, as Western governments increasingly began to rely on their services to bolster falling conventional military budgets. Some of the larger corporations are Winnall and Military Professional Resources Inc. in the United States, G4S and Kini Mini Services in the United Kingdom, Lordan Levdan in Israel, and Executive Outcomes in South Africa. The exodus of over 6 million military personnel from Western militaries in the 1990s expanded the Recruiting pool for PMCs. Some commentators have argued that there was an exodus from many special operations forces across the globe towards these private military corporations. Units that were allegedly severely affected included the British Special Air Service, the US Special Operations Forces, and the Canadian Joint Task Force 2. Finding work in the industry is not difficult for most former soldiers, as their personal network of fellow and ex-soldiers is enough to keep them informed of available contracts. In 1985, Logistics Civil Augmentation Program was established in the United